Hi everyone, so we are looking at slavery and the British Empire today. So, um, we've got a series of images here and we're going to think about how they are connected. So, the first one is the British Empire, a map of the colonies that the British controlled. We've got an image of slavery over here. So, we've got people forcibly taken from Africa to the Americas and Britain in these ships. Then we've got the abolition of slavery, and then we've got civil rights. I'm going to think about how these are actually connected. So, the first one is the British Empire. So, Britain at its peak controlled and had invaded 25% of the world. And through that, they were able to control these countries, take their resources, and basically establish the slave trade. So, that is where goods were transported from Britain to Africa, and then from Africa, people were taken forcibly to the Americas and Britain because they were free labor. They were sold to the highest bidder and then forced to work on plantations with very, very little rights. Their identity, their family, their friends were stripped away from them. Then in 1833, we have the Abolition of Slavery Act, which meant that slavery was illegal. Okay, now that didn't mean that the problem was solved. Um, Black people in America had very, very little rights. They remember they didn't speak the language in America. They came from Africa. They didn't have very many family or friends. They didn't have any money. They didn't have any education. So establishing a life after slavery was actually really, really difficult for them. And on top of that, we have the Jim Crow laws, which desegregated Black people from the white community. They weren't able to go to the same schools, the same restaurants, the same bars, the same toilets. Even they had to stand on a bus if a white person came. Everything was segregated, okay, which limited their chances. And through that, we have the civil rights movement. So we've got an image of Martin Luther King here giving a speech. And eventually, Black people got more and more rights, like, for example, the right to vote or desegregating schools, etc. Okay, and now that doesn't mean that that's the end of the story at all. There's still a systemic racism all across the world today. And it all started off with the slave trade, which was established by the British Empire. Okay. Another thing I wanted to draw your attention to was the Slave Compensation Act in 1833. Now, after years and years of campaigning of key individuals, the British gave up slavery and declared it to be illegal. However, they knew that there was going to be a lot of angry people. For example, the plantation owners, because they were losing out on free labor. Now, they would have had to either pay these people to work for them or just let them go. So, what the British did is they said that they would pay £20 million in compensation to these people. Okay, now that is a huge amount back then of the national budget. So, what they did is that they said they'll pay it in lump sums every year or so. And this money started off being paid in 1833 and actually wasn't paid until 2015. Okay, so you can imagine how long it took for the British government to pay this back to not just the plantation owners, but their children and their children's children eventually. Okay, so that is a little bit about how slavery is connected to the British Empire and how it still affects our lives today. Okay, thank you.